Give me 1 second. You can request up. Miss Banks, you can request up. I see you in the live. 1 second. Okay, you said you needed a minute, Ashley? Okay, you can, let me see if I see you in the queue. I don't see you, but I can send your request. That way, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and accept the invite to come on in. Hi, Ashley.
Hello, can you hear
Hear us?
me? Let's do a sound check. I want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Do I need to have my camera on?
Yes, we do
Okay.
prefer for you to have your camera on. And do you have the background that we sent you to use?
No, I likely don't. Honestly, I
Okay.
was asking questions. My apologies. I sent the email, but it is kind of late, so I do apologize. But I can try to access the camera. And thank you guys for the gifts. Hello.
No
I'm gonna
problem.
try to access the camera.
Okay. If you need help, let me know and I can guide you on how to turn the camera on. That way you can use your background, the green screen option, and you can choose any image in your phone gallery
So
to use as a background.
what it's saying is live access needed. I guess since this is a newer account, they're not gonna let me access the camera.
How long have you had the account? You should it should have given you the option to turn your camera on. You've had this account for a while.
Just a couple of months. This is my newer account. This is not the personal account. And
Oh, okay, you just created this like a month ago.
maybe a month or two ago, but I can't remember. I
Okay.
do apologize. I just thought about this.
Okay. Well, that may be the case because it's pretty new. If it doesn't give you the option to turn the camera on, that's probably what it is. But ultimately, is it grayed out on the camera option?
It won't let me access it at all. It won't let me put it on. You know how you tap the camera? I
Are you?
tapped it
Yes.
and it said you can't access it because you don't have access to live.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there any way possible? Could you, if you want to turn your camera on, could you switch over to your other account?
So because I want to I try not to do so much
Okay, I
campaigning
understand.
on my personal. I
Okay.
do apologize. I do. I really want to be on camera. I don't mind. But it's just, I try not to do so much campaigning on the personal page.
All right. Well, we can go ahead and get started whenever you're ready. Just let me know and then.
I'm ready whenever you guys are. Thank you for the gifts.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Vote Counts Town Hall Live. I am your moderator, JazB. And for those who are not familiar with our Vote Counts, we are a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure that every voice is heard. Through outreach, education, accountability, and action, we're building a strong democracy. So, with one informed vote at a time, please join us because your vote is your power. So today we're joined by candidate Ashley Banks, who is an independent candidate running for Illinois' 2nd Congressional District. We'll be talking about her background, her vision for the district, and of course, taking your questions live. So, Ashley, I think you've been in here plenty of times listening to other candidates. So, of course, with the format of the town hall, we will ask a set of questions, topic questions, and then after each set of topic questions, I'll allow one person to come up and ask. And then after that, it's a rinse and repeat process. So is that okay?
I'm ready. Thank you for having me.
Okay. And so, Miss Banks, so I've learned that you were born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. You graduated from Crete Monet, I think I pronounced that correctly, high school. You also have a diverse professional background as well. That includes being an entrepreneur. You are also a journalist and most importantly, an election judge, which is very interesting. I want to get into that a little later about your experience with that. And so, with that being said, you were also involved in your community since the start of your youth years, you being in your younger years, and then also pursuing higher education. You have a study in journalism from Olive Harvey College, and you have an international marketing degree at DePaul University, and you're also continuing your local civic efforts within the community. So, with that experience I just highlighted, can you tell me what was that moment for you that essentially said, "Okay, it's time for me to run for Congress and offer an independent vision for Illinois Second District"?
Well, I want to first say thank you for that. That's impressive. It took off all my jitters and because I'm nervous. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. The answer to your question, I've always wanted to do politics. I just didn't know which position was good for me. I wanted to actually run for senator, not Congress. What occurred was Robin Kelly, I've met her. She's a nice lady. I did a story on her. She's the person that's moving from Illinois to, she's now currently the Congresswoman for Illinois too. She's moving to senator. She's in the race against Juliana Stratton and other candidates. And it's a hectic race. But what I want to say is I respected Miss Kelly and the things that she's done for District 2. So I didn't want to step on her shoes. But then when I found out that she was running for senator, I said that I'll do Congress because I've grew up in District 2. I've worked in District 2. I've traveled through District 2, so I know much about it, if that answers your question.
Oh, absolutely. All right. So, was there anything else you wanted to add regarding your encouragement to run for the district?
Because I have experience with the district, I felt that the experience would have a greater impact
Okay.
with helping to change. So that's really my biggest reason.
And that's amazing knowing that you know the ins and outs of your district. That definitely plays a part because a lot of times you see people running for Congress and sometimes they don't live in a district. Although it is legal for them to do so, a lot of times they are not in tune on what's going on. So I appreciate your motivation to want to run. So I'm going to go ahead and move into giving you an icebreaker question before we start talking about the hard topics. So I want to know if you could invite any three people, whether they're living or someone from history, to a Chicago style dinner table, who would it be and why?
I want to start with living. I would invite Barack Obama. He is one of the most controversial politicians, political leaders, public leaders in history because he has been accused of so many things. He's just had a journey that I know was hard and he probably had doubtful nights, but he stayed in there. So it will be Barack Obama first. Second would be one of the founding fathers of the Constitution and the beginning of the law within the United States because they would have knowledge about how it was created and the purpose of it at the time. My third person would be Harriet Tubman. Reason is because Harriet Tubman, she's very quiet. And this world, we're so focused on being loud and being heard, being seen. I just want to know, how does she do it? How does she remain so quiet but so strategic, so logical, without all the emotions that probably overtook her while she was doing the things that she needed to do? So that's my answer.
Okay, that's a great lineup. So you said Barack Obama, you said one of the founding fathers, and Harriet Tubman. I think that is a good way to kind of pick their brain. So I appreciate your answer on that. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and roll it into talking about economic development. So, we understand that your district consists of about 17.8% of the residents living in poverty, and the median household income around your district is about $61,000. How would you expand economic opportunity for working families in your district?
Well, economic opportunities includes a workforce. Workforces are very important and they are top priority because you have people who are business leaders, but you also have the people who choose to be within the workforce. So, how do we get around where do we put the workforce? Where does the money go? It's so much when you're a Congress. If I'm answering, and let me know if I'm not. When a congressperson goes to the table and they go to debate the bills, the funding, what we do is we try to find what is good for that particular area. What I've learned at District 2 is there are different needs of each part of District 2. So what would have to happen is I would have to see the status of the district, each part of it, and what are the needs in order to be able to answer that. And with the way the economy is, at this moment, it would be hard to accurately answer that. But I would say I would continue to watch to see if it's elevating or if it's falling as far as economic development or what's going on. I'll keep an eye on what's going on within the district.
Okay. So you're saying that you need more of like an assessment, like something more. Are you saying specifically you need something more broader to gather the information on how to expand the opportunities, or are you saying you need something more specific to pinpoint, just so I can get a more understanding of your answer?
I'm saying that it just depends on the status, like the statistics at the time. When I get into office, they may change. The population may change. The needs and for workforce or the need for more businesses may change. So I'm saying at this moment, my goal is to continue to watch and to pay attention and to document with my own eyes and the opportunity to research at my own level to see what's going on so that way if I do win my bid for Congress, I would be able to have a clear picture of where we stand at the time when I take office.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And so that kind of transitions us to talk about like the main underlying thing that a lot of people are talking about in this country, which is the affordability factor regarding the economy. So rising costs and of course affordability concerns are squeezing families in Illinois District 2. Could you tell me what policies would you champion to make housing more accessible?
Well, first, we have to look at where we stand as far as the need for housing. Who needs it? Who's actually reaching out for it? Who's signing up for it? Why aren't the programs working? Then we have to go into the organizations that are funded to be able to provide housing. And let's say we're talking about the topic of those who are unhoused. I hope that I said that correct.
Yes. The unhoused,
The,
yes.
the ones who are without the proper shelter, we have to assess where they stand and how we can get them at a better place. So there's so much to assess when we're talking about housing and with the needing for housing at a higher level than it has been in the past. We have to assess where we are in the future. And I keep saying that because we have to pay attention to what funds are being used currently and what will be needed for the future. So my answer to that, to sum it up, I do apologize if I'm windy, is that at this moment, the thing that I can do is pay attention to the trends and what's going on with the numbers to be able to assess it if I was to win the bid.
Okay. And I think that's a good step to approach things it's just to look at the numbers and the trends, and to kind of show, for lack of a better word, kind of see like on a heat map type of point of view on where the places that you would like to target in order to inject certain like cash flow or certain areas that need funding to be allocated. So I appreciate that answer. All right, so we're going to go ahead and allow one person to come up and ask you a question regarding economic and job development. So if you would like to come up and ask Miss Ashley Banks a question, feel free to do so. If not, you can ask a question in the chat. But I did see a question in the chat for someone that did ask you, and they asked, did we ask yet what was your stance on reaching across the aisle for negotiating a compromise? Ashley?
My bad. I was reading the question. I was rereading it.
Oh, sorry. But if you want, I know we can. We actually are going down to the. I do have a portion to ask you regarding bipartisanship. So if you want, you could answer. But I do have some towards the end of this town hall to ask you more specifically. But they're just asking what is your stance regarding bipartisanship. Miss Ashley, can you hear us? Are you still on mute? Okay, well, we'll wait till Miss Ashley comes back. It looks like she's probably having some technical difficulties. All right, so everyone, be sure to go ahead and put your questions in the chat. It looks like we need some more people asking some more questions. So we do have some more topics to ask. So feel free to put them in the chat. We do have our mods down here to make sure it's repeated. That way it doesn't get lost in the conversation when you're posting your question. So feel free to do so, and we will acknowledge your question. But I'll circle back to asking Ms. Banks, can you hear us again?
Can you hear me? Am I good?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm just tapping. My phone is.
Oh no, you're fine. If you want, you can answer.
For the bipartisanship.
Yes.
So when it comes to bipartisanship, I am in agreement with what makes it right for the current topic or current stance. So I'm not against cooperation amongst the parties if it benefits the people. So I'm for bipartisanship, if that answers the question.
Yes. And someone asked, what do you think about the federal wage increase? I guess they're asking, do you support increasing the minimum wage? The federal minimum wage?
I support increasing the federal minimum wage. Yes, I do.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and roll it into talking about healthcare. So we understand that there have been cuts to Medicaid and the ACA that could leave thousands in your district uninsured. How would you defend and reform these programs to safeguard coverage?
I would. So I've thought about this. First, I believe that particular move should not have happened. I don't agree with the decision. I feel I'm looking more towards universal health care. And I have talked about this. Can I get into that though?
Yes. Can you tell me what your universal healthcare stance will look like? Because we've had other people on this town hall to tell us what their idea was, so it tends to vary. So yes, I would love to hear what your thoughts about your idea of universal healthcare could look like.
Because I do want to get away from ACA and go to universal, because I feel like it's unfair that, and I've stated this, but I've heard from different people about how they feel about the way they will be taxed. And these are some of my posts that are out there. So I do encourage each of you to also comment so I can see how you feel about the stance that I have, which is, why are people paying into so many sectors from their paycheck? Meaning, we pay into Medicaid, we pay into medical benefits, but we also pay into our workforce and the medical benefits there. If we already have state benefits, why are we paying extra, and why are those premiums increasing? It's just so much being paid into one sector, but yet lacking in other sectors, meaning with the job force switching, and it's so much to talk about. But back to the healthcare, I want universal healthcare because I believe that the average taxpayer is paying into too much at one time, if I'm making sense.
Yes, I agree. We do spend the most on healthcare out of any other first world country, so I do agree with that. And if we'd had some form of a universal healthcare, it will be a net benefit in the way we spend on healthcare each year in this country. So I do appreciate your stance on explaining your thoughts about universal healthcare. Okay, so wanted to follow up and ask you regarding healthcare. We also understand that um, in your district also faces health disparities in maternal health and chronic illnesses. What specific steps would you take to address these inequities?
So I may be one of those candidates that don't speak openly on looking into the practices of the hospitals currently, the lawsuits that are occurring, how much money is going towards lawsuits and how much money is needed to take care of the federal regulation part of with hospitals. So Congress is allowed to investigate practically almost anybody, but it's just to the degree of why the investigation is needed. So I think there needs to be a outlook on the programs that are current and then find out where we can improve in order to make sure the needs of the people are met in all areas that where federal can come in and help. If I always want to make sure I'm making sense, or if there's any questions to that.
Do you feel like there should be some type of list that can help not only on the federal level but on the state level understand where these certain allocations of funding need to go? Because ultimately, whenever you do allocate funding, it does go to the state level first, and the state level does have the I guess you can say like the jurisdiction or like the discretion on how to allocate those funds within the state. So do you feel like there should be some type of assessment to know if certain hospitals are considered to be at risk of closing, to know where those targets should be in order to help them?
Yeah, so we must have oversight. We must definitely create an oversight committee more focused on just the hospitals and their involvement with the patient and making sure that we're having proper billing and not overbilling patients. There's so much going on with the hospitals that it's inaccurate. Billing
More
is inaccurate.
transparency.
Yeah, so we need to have oversight and we need to look deeper into just, oh, these things are happening. We need to look at why they're happening and try to change them so that way we won't put so much money into just band-aiding the issue. We need to have an oversight on the issues in its entirety, meaning we need to understand what's going on at a deeper level.
Okay. All right. So I will ask one person who would like to come up and ask Miss Ashley a question regarding healthcare. Feel free to request up. So there are a few questions in the chat. Someone did ask you, what was your plan to support farmers in District 2? Miss Ashley, can you hear us?
I can hear you. So farmers in District 2, I am aware of different areas where there's issues with the farmers getting funding, the need for more control. But I would ask the farmers of District 2 to involve me, or I will involve myself and research more on what's going on. I look into different sectors of Illinois, and I've only seen different things like in Peatone, Pembroke, and there's other areas within Illinois that needs to be, again, there needs to be an oversight. And we need to make sure that farmers are having the opportunities that they need to be able to adequately run their business. But in order for a candidate or even a representative to know what's going on, we need to involve ourselves more and be present. So my goal is to come down there. I do talk with farmers. I do follow farmers, so I am looking into what's going on. But I need more insight because I'm not there. I used to live in Kankakee, Illinois, pretty close to there. But the things that I saw in Kankakee was different than the things that I would see in Pembroke or Peatone or other areas within Illinois.
Okay, thank you for that. And the next question someone asked was, what will you do to ensure hospitals and clinics stay open in rural areas?
So it's all about funding. So Congress, we're focused on making sure the funding is accurate and it's actually doing what it needs to do. So we want to make sure the funding is going to those areas too, because those areas are put in to the federal taxes. So we need to make sure that there's output going back into those areas as well. So I would say we look more into funding and what's needed. And again, my goal was to survey what's going on currently and then map it. So if I do win the bid, that I would be able to look into what is lost or what is gained within that area.
Thank you for that. So now we're going to go ahead and roll it into talking about public education. So I've been catching up with this current administration in the way they've been doing a lot of cuts to education, a lot on the collegiate level and just the K through 12 area. But more importantly, in your district, which is covering the Chicago public school area, I have learned that there were a lot of cuts and continue to be potential cuts towards certain programs in the Chicago Public School. One particular program in the Chicago Public School was to have a specific program for Black students that typically couldn't access certain STEM programs in order for them to have more access to these things, in order for them to have better chances into getting into college and targeting their majors when they're in college. And that specific program was called, I think it was called the Black Student Success Plan. Are you familiar with that?
I am not familiar with that, but I can tell you that I do, and I have talked with different personnel who have told me about the issues. They're a lot of times trying to turn a lot of schools into charter schools as well. We have to look into that. And then the charter schools are asking for more funding, just as CPS. But CPS are the teachers are on strike. They're going through massive layoffs, like as you said. So the thing is, there's so much going on. Again, one can only look and pay attention because decisions will change because of the timing or where the funding. And we have to look at the current administration and what they're doing and the cuts that they're sending. So at the time when I come in, it might be different. They may have extreme cuts, and then the states are trying to find ways to keep these programs going. So I'm not trying to dodge what I'm saying is I'm trying to say things are changing so rapidly, things that we were not aware would have happened or we would have hoped may not happen if you disagree to what's going on. That at this point, it's hard to point where we will be by next year or 2027.
Okay. Oh, and I appreciate your answer on that. But that particular program in the Chicago Public Schools is getting targeted by this current administration because they're claiming from the federal level that it's quote unquote violating non-white students. I'm sorry, it's violating non students of color's abilities to get into this program. So that is something I will be continuing to watch. But with that being said, I'm going to ask you some questions specific to the district as well regarding literacy rates. So we understand that the state is in Illinois are struggling with certain literacy rates, which right now is at its lowest. Only 2 out of 5 elementary students read at the level statewide. So how would you improve the outcomes in the district, specifically for underfunded schools?
Funding is always going to lead to funding when it comes to Congress. because we are to fund the needs of teachers, the needs of administrators. It's always going back to funding and where we are. Funding is important because it models how many people we need. It shows us what needs to be done and what needs to be given to the other officials of the states for them to make certain decisions if they decide to make those decisions. Congress passes the money to them. If they do other things, then there's the need for more oversight on where the money is going and why it's going to certain places and not others. There's so much that's going on that needs to be corrected, and it's at this point, I would say oversight and funding is going to be my pinpoint to many things.
Okay, and then more specifically, regarding the funding, I know that a lot of times when, if you were elected regarding, and then you were to put some type of legislation regarding public education on the floor, what would that look like? What type of line or certain lines would you put in a package or in a bill that will specifically target your district? Can you kind of outline what that looked like if there was a certain bill proposed regarding public education? Could you tell me what you have in mind, what you put in that bill for your district?
A literacy bill, we must focus on the goal of education, which is to empower the mind to be able to receive and to process. What I mean by that is we must make it more important in the laws, and we must enforce those laws. And it would be a literacy bill. That would be the name of it if I have to think about it. And that bill would be putting more of the funding and pushing the states to put more on funding of staff and reducing.
Now,
Wait, so I'm
now I
sorry.
wanted to follow.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. I just wanted to ask. So regarding you said regarding the literacy bill. So you said what would it look like would be more funding, which would target more funding for staffing. Would that also entail targeting, introducing children to literacy like before, prior to preschool, like starting at the age of like 2 or 3? Would you be open to something like that? Because studies have shown that from between the ages of 0 to 3 is the most critical times for children to build their learning, because they do absorb things like a sponge. So with that type of study and that knowledge of that has of those outcomes, would you be in favor of that, having more funding for between the ages of 0 and 3, before they get to preschool starting at K4?
Yes, I would, and I would also encourage at home reading. Even in the womb, I would encourage reading early on. The purpose, again, is to make sure the funding is available. So, yes, I would put within that bill about development, professional development, making sure that books are available and the funding is broke down and we pay attention to what's needed, because sometimes we have to also find out what is not being given as well. So, what is needed, like books or software or electronics, what is needed. So each part of the district is different as well. I grew up in different parts of District 2 because I grew up in District 2, and I noticed that some parts the technology was different, some parts the curriculum was different. Chicago has a different curriculum for some of the suburban schools. Charter schools have different curriculum than some of the public schools. So we have to study what is being taught at the time of when me and other candidates take office, if that becomes the result of my bid, then we go in and we see what's needed within different parts of the district. I'm sorry for being windy.
All right, no problem. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead to roll into talking about something a little bit more fun. So, I'm gonna shoot you some rapid fire questions. These are more political in nature, and so later on in the live, we will give you a more fun in nature set of questions. So, we're gonna get these hard ones out the way first. So, are you ready?
Ready, I think.
All right. So, one word to describe what Washington gets wrong about communities like Illinois' 2nd District.
Violence.
Okay. As an independent, what's one issue you will work with any party to get results?
Job force, workforce, to make sure there's a better workforce.
All right. About federal dollars, infrastructure first or education first?
Education.
What's the most urgent investment in Illinois District 2 right now?
Education.
All right. Should Congress prioritize small businesses or large employers to drive local jobs?
I think Chicago, the district that I will be working with, they prioritize small businesses.
Okay. Regarding clean energy jobs, opportunities for District 2 or is it an unrealistic promise?
Can you repeat the question?
So regarding clean energy jobs,
Mm-hmm.
is clean energy jobs more an opportunity for the district or is it an unrealistic promise?
It's more of an opportunity and it's needed also. And it's needed to be invested in more.
Okay. How do you hold federal agencies accountable to communities facing environmental injustice?
Investigation. It's always investigating what is going on, what's not going on, and what needs to happen.
Okay. One concrete step you would take to improve underfunded schools in your first term.
Oversight, making sure that we're looking into where the funding is needed, where it went, and where it should have went.
Okay. And lastly, what's broken about civic engagement and how would you personally fix it?
I think that it is not more engaged. It's not offered more at a younger age. And I think that we should look into more talks at the tables and making sure it's more available and understood so that way we can be more involved with a more positive effect, not negative.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. That wraps up my first portion of the rapid fire questions. So stick around. Be on the lookout for my fun portion of the rapid fire. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about public safety. So we understand that weapons violence, and I'm just using weapons in replacement of the word GUN for TikTok purposes. So weapons violence remains a major epidemic in Chicago's Southside communities. What new approaches would you bring to reduce violence and improve safety?
I often walk throughout the neighborhoods where there is high violence. What I'm seeing is many of the issues is the need for intervention with the situation. And I think Chicago is having a hard time with following up with social services or things that are needed within the home or being more empathetic to the situation at hand. I think there needs to be more involvement with different cases involving violence or things that should have been stopped because we have to look into what's needed. And again, oversight, I'm going to continue to say that throughout my campaign. Oversight is needed because I think there's an undersight in what's going on and what's needed and what's not needed.
All right, and just to follow up, so I understand you are running on the federal level, but also federal officials do work with local officials. So with that being said, I seen that there is an initiative in the city of Baltimore where the mayor has created a specific group, and I forgot the name, but he has these local people in the community where they hold the people in those community accountable whenever there's some type of verbal altercation or some type of conflict. He has these set of people that are a part of the community come in and mitigate the situation. So do you think Chicago should model that type of initiative similar to what Baltimore has? And they have seen actual great outcomes by doing that. They have seen their overall crime going down, including violent crime, by having these group of people, men and women who are part of the community, come in and be the mediators in a lot of situations that happen in the community. Do you think Chicago could be open to something like that, or do you all have something similar to that in Chicago?
Chicago has a vast amount of programs that are not often talked about within the main media, but some of the smaller media outlets try to get them out. Chicago is vast, and the different programs may have something similar, but may not have something as direct as what the particular idea that they have. So, if I'm understanding what you're asking, to have a community more involvement in the resolution more than state involvement or federal involvement, is that what you are referencing? So I can understand
Yes.
the question. Okay.
Yes.
I do think the community should have a more involvement if that particular person or the people involved want that. See, I think privacy has changed for us, and I think it's so much in the public eye now that privacy is being changed even by definition. And so I think if the other person want to get involved or they want that to be a resolution, yes, why not? But if not, then how do we come to an agreement so that everyone who's involved can feel like their voice is being heard and understood?
Okay. Thank you for that. All right. So the next question I have for you regarding public policy or just public safety in specific is, we understand that public safety in general can be just beyond just policing. So with having some measures that are beyond policing, what investments in community programs do you see as most urgent to improve safety and trust? Or have you, or if there aren't any right now, have you seen any in your community that are becoming very effective on a net positive level within the community that they have invested in that you would like to highlight?
Oh, I do. There are some beautiful organizations that are making sure that they're involved within their community. There is a particular organization, and forgive me because her organization came to my mind, but I can't get the exact name. But she gives out things for mothers, and newborn and children and women. And I really wish that I had her information, but she does a great job in helping the community, and that eases that need for baby formula or diapers. There's other programs where they have, like, at the colleges, they have food pantries and they have closets where men or women can come and get clothes. And I think that's kind of easing some of the tensions for the needs to be met of those who may need these particular things. So I am very grateful at times to be able to see these changes within Chicago and see the funding being used and people having maybe some tension ease for the things that they need, and they can have it found in their local neighborhood or their local pantry or their local church. So there are different programs in Chicago.
Okay. All right. So those were the end of talking about just public policy. So I appreciate your answers on that. So it looks like we don't have anyone in the queue or in the chat that would like to ask a question regarding this topic. So we're rolling into talking about environment and infrastructure. So we understand that Illinois' second district has high rates of environmental violations under the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts. How would you hold polluters accountable, and what measures would you take to help regulate companies in not harming the environment?
Glad you brought this up. So Illinois too has had I grew, like I said, I grew up in Illinois too, and we always had a water problem, and it was because of the pipes and the infrastructure. One of my top 5 policies and things that I've been paying attention to is infrastructure. We need funding and we need companies to invest within the infrastructure within District 2 because it has always had water that needed to be tested, was not always up to code to be able to be used for washing dishes or doing basic laundry because of the things that will come out of the water and the things that come out of the it's a lot, but I think we really need to go into infrastructure with District 2 because there's a lot of issues that needs to be looked at. So that's my answer to that. I hope I answered it.
Okay. And with that being said, we also understand that communities of color in the South Side of Chicago face environmental racism specifically, which causes higher rates of asthma and heart disease. Could you tell me what your plan to address these disparities?
Again, oversight. There must be some type of federal oversight, making sure the state officials are doing what's need to do with the EPA. There's a particular part of Illinois, it's right there off of 130th, near 130th and Torrance. For years, there has been the burning of pollution. And across from there is a school. It's a apartment complex. And I really want oversight into making sure that we either relocate that area or we relocate the plant because that's not habitable and it's been there for years and I don't know why early on candidates or political leaders refuse to address this, but it has been where my family has lived and I have saw the effects of the presence of the power plants or the plants. So again, oversight needs to be bigger and more effective in Illinois.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so I do just see a lot of engagement in the comments, so I appreciate you all still keeping the conversation going in the chat. So thank you all for being here thus far. So we're gonna go ahead and roll it into talking about bipartisanship and governing, Miss Ashley. So and for those who just came in, Miss Ashley is running as an independent candidate. And with that being said, we understand that District 2 is a solidly Democratic district. I think it's plus 18 regarding how solid that district tends to lean. But Congress is deeply polarized. How would you work across the aisle to deliver results?
We have to stay fast. We have to have we have to know what's going on. We cannot get around facts. We can debate opinions, we can debate what used to happen, but we have to stay in what is going on. So the only thing that I can state is listen, there's a need for this. There's a need for oversight here. There's a need for understanding here. These are facts. And we have to look at what's going on and not overlook and keep going back to what has been done. We have to stay focused on what needs to be done and what is happening to make things happen for the people of the district, for the people of the United States.
And as a follow up, also understanding that you are in this district that is plus 18, leaning Dem, could you map out what would your voting coalition would look like in order for them to come out to vote? Like, what type of voters are you courting, so to speak, or trying to attract in order to get out the vote? Can you tell me what that looked like?
I am so I will be serving, if I win the bid, I will be serving everyone. So I don't have a particular target. I'm looking for whom I will serve to come out and speak to me and talk to me, and we think about what's going on and we document what's going on so that way we can have a better outlook of what we're looking into in the near future. Again, because I am, and I do live in District 2, I am seeing, but I can't see everything. So involvement is big and just, I don't have a particular target. I will serve different groups and different people, so I'm not targeting particular people.
Okay. All right. So looks like once again we don't see anyone in the comments or in the queue. So I'll roll into talking about giving you another set of rapid fire questions. These are more fun in nature. So let's go ahead and get that rolling. So Chicago staple, what would you choose? Deep dish or thin crust?
Thin crust, thin crust.
What was the first job you ever had?
I was 12 years old. I used to clean houses through an organization that helped us learn how to be professional and how to learn how to be self business people at a young age.
All right. regarding your journalistic instinct, do you ask the tough questions or do you tell the human side of the story?
I ask the just questions. I ask the questions that I least ask, but I'm very respectful because I do understand that tension rises sometimes. We always want to get that sharp question out, but sometimes we look at I read the room, so that's my answer to
All right.
that one.
All right. So, what would you choose, coffee or energy drink during a long day of campaigning?
Give me coffee.
All right. And regarding a late night study session, what typically fuels you better, a snack or just silence?
Silence. Silence. Sometimes I just
All
need to
right.
think.
And so if District 2 had a playlist, what's the vibe? Would you go with old school, new school, or a mix of both?
Give me smooth jazz. I think we're pretty smooth. We got a lot of businesses. We try to do things. We try to keep it fun. So give me smooth jazz. Yeah.
Okay. And as an election judge, which is interesting that you are an election judge, what is the most surprising thing you've ever seen on election day?
Everybody wants us to tell them who to vote for. We cannot do that. They're like, who would you vote for? I'm like, we can't tell you that. That's up to you, because we have preferences and we ask that everyone else does too. So, no, we can't tell you guys who to vote for, and we wish you good luck.
Right. And that's important. You have to remain nonpartisan. So yes. All right. So lastly, when politics gets frustrating, what keeps you grounded?
Facts. You can't go around facts. Like, everybody has opinions and they are good and they are well thought, but you can't go around actual facts. There are people who were there are people who understand what happened, and then there are people who review what happened from other stories, but we have to try to remain within factual, and I'm not always right, I will admit that, but my goal is to learn, not to be without knowledge of what's going on. So I would say facts.
Facts. Hey, facts. You can't beat facts. Facts over feelings for sure. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up for anyone who would like to ask you a question, Miss Ashley. So if anybody wants to go ahead and ask any questions of what we highlighted thus far, we've highlighted a top of numerous topics. So feel free to drop those in the comments. If not, I'll go ahead and check the queue to see if anybody would like to come up and ask Ms. Banks a question. But so far, a lot of people have been making comments about. Someone said that that's the problem is beyond oversight. Our party must be rewriting the laws entirely. Someone says that their focus for reach is anyone who will put humanity first. They must see the vision. And they ask, what is your vision for funding?
Okay, I'm gonna try to answer all of them. I'm gonna start with the problem is beyond oversight. Our priority must be rewriting the laws entirely. So, in order for us to rewrite the laws, we must know why we're doing it, and that's why I always call for oversight. Like, I know I've heard from different constituents that, and I say that of the current law officials that they have said the issues, they have tried to talk with them, but they're not getting the results. I can't speak for them. I am a different person. I am coming in understanding from a different outlook. I'm understanding as a constituent, as a person who's involved. So I am at a different position because I've never been a law official, but I have been an election judge, which is different. And so I say that to say the only thing I can do is see and experience what the average voter or the average person experience and try to take that to the proper table or conversation to make sure that we have better results. But that's what I bring to the table. I have experience and a multitude of issues within District 2, but also within the United States because I've also traveled often as well.
All right. All right. So thank you for that. So I want to go ahead and extend a official thank you, Miss Ashley Banks, for joining us tonight. It has been a great conversation getting to know you in your campaign and what your vision is for the district. So with that being said, as your final word and the final message to your voters, can you tell me what would you say to them ahead of the primaries and election day? Well, it won't be primaries for you. It'll just be election day, of course. So could you give me your thoughts about what would you say to voters before election day?
I would encourage, if not me, then whomever you choose, to make sure you're doing it off of the understanding that there are different issues, and without the officials or the candidates knowing what these issues are, if they're likely going off of what's being told to them. Do the homework. Give some time. We have some time before election. So it's good to see so many people involved. It's good to see that people want to know and they're just not going off of what they hear, but now they're being involved. So I just say continue to be involved. Whomever your candidate is, make sure they have your best interest and they know what your interest is if you can, as much as possible.
All right, thank you for that. And how can everyone keep in touch with you? How can they follow you? Be sure to let us know all your social medias and how can they stay involved and how can they contribute to your campaign.
First, thank each of you for your questions, your comments. I saw them, and I do apologize. Some of them, if it was not addressed by the panel, I was not going to address them. That's the first. I'd like to thank for the gifts. I'd like to thank for people being here. Thank you for the comments. I am one to be understanding to different people, so I would like to continue to thank you all for just being here, and thank you, Chaz. Thank you to our vote counts, and thank you to each of you just for hearing me out today and giving me the opportunity to be here. But I want to say you can follow me at www.AshleyBanksworksforyou.com. I took all my other social medias off because I don't want the confusion to come, so I'll just leave up my website. And I don't take any endorsements. It's interesting. I thought that comment was towards me because I don't take any endorsements and I don't take any donations. So I know this is going to be interesting, but there's a reason. I'm going to come out with that more. So I was kind of off by one of the comments because I haven't taken any endorsements by anyone. And so with that said, yeah.
No, I was just saying that's interesting. That's my first time hearing a candidate say they don't receive any contributions or anyone donating to their campaign. You said you wasn't ready to reveal that right now. Why? You don't want to receive
No, I'm just
donations?
not taking them at this moment. I want to, it's a lot going on, it's a lot of people that are struggling, and I just want to interact with people. And I'm trying to show something different in politics, which has happened before. But no, at this moment, I'm not taking any donations or any endorsements. So if anybody's saying I'm endorsing with them, I'm not. I have said this openly and also on my website. I'm not taking any of those. So thank you for
Okay.
that.
All right, no problem. So once again, before you leave, but we want to invite you to our next town hall. We have our next one coming up with the candidate John Kipper. John Kipper is running for New Hampshire governor of New Hampshire. That will be held in January. So we do have a slight break right now for the rest of December, but we will be back January 6th for our town halls starting on January 6th. And that will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But before we end the year, we do have our last roundtable for the year. And that will be tomorrow, which is December 21st at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that will consist of a group of people that we have invited to come up and just have a general discussion about what's the current events of today or anything they would like to talk about regarding policy. So this will just be a casual conversation amongst candidates. So feel free to come in and stop by Miss Ashley to listen in onto a great conversation tomorrow. So that will be our last thing that we'll do before we end out the year, which will be our roundtable. And for this top of the year, next month in January, we will kick it off with John Kipper, who is running for governor of New Hampshire. So once again, thank you for being here, Miss Ashley. for gracing us with your presence and getting to know your campaign. And good luck with everything as well. So once again, everybody, thank you all for being here. Thank the chat for continuing to keep the conversation going. Thank you, OVC. Thank our great team of OVC. We have been working hard these last couple months to get this up and running. So your hard work does not go unnoticed. And also thank the mods who keep the live going as well. So with that being said, our vote counts. We are a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, and accountability and action, we're building a stronger democracy. So with one informed vote at a time, join us because your vote is your power. And until then, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a great day.